How's it going, guys? I got a pick here in this week 6 matchup. It's got some Thursday night football to start the week. This matchup is a division rival matchup. We got Eagles versus Giants. This matchup is going to be taking place in New York, Giants' backyard in the MetLife Stadium. If we look at this matchup, we see a pretty sizable favor for the Eagles. We see them at money line minus 400 with the spread set at minus 7.5. And then the Giants for the money line, we see them at plus 305. The over and under is set at 40.5 currently. I'm recording this a day before, so we might see a bit of a jump, but most likely the odds are going to be setting around anywhere from that 7.5, 7 line, I believe. Um, like I said, this is a division rival matchup. This matchup is interesting for a few reasons. Big reason being that is that it is a division rival matchup. But another reason why I feel like this is a bit of an interesting matchup is because both teams are coming off of losses. We got one from the Eagles that are coming off of loss against the Broncos when they were at home. Eagles were at home. And a bit of an ugly loss in which the game they were leading the whole game, and then they just allowed them to score 18 in the fourth quarter, which was obviously unacceptable from any defense, but allowed them to score 18 and actually win that game. And then we see the opposite side for the Giants go into New Orleans, start hot but not finish it really the best. We see them score opening drive a touchdown and then not really doing much after that second half. They scored another touchdown in that first half, but like I said, in that second half, just very underwhelming and had a chance to finalize it a few times, but just let the Saints pull ahead from a few turnovers the Giants had. So just pretty much unacceptable ball from both teams. Some things I do find is interesting is that they're out. The Giants are out for the number one receiver. Obviously, Neighbors is out, but then you see also their number two receiver, a veteran. We see Slayton's out as well, which was a big target for Dart last week against the Saints. Definitely was someone that he threw the ball out too, and was kind of spreading it out and used him pretty effectively. I think he had like 40-ish yards against the Saints. So definitely someone that is going to be a bit of a crucial hit, seeing that he's not going to be on this matchup. But two players that definitely is not what you want to see going into this matchup against the Eagles. Just as well as they just really haven't been really able to throw that ball through the air as much as they wanted to. They're 0-8 for pass plays over 20 yards. So just kind of showing that the best signs that they're able to spread the ball out. But although they are taking chances and darts, that is his style of play, they just haven't been able to hit his man and his guys during those marks. So see if that's going to be something that the Giants can turn around. I think that's going to be a key thing is if they can hit plays that are over 20 yards and really get this offense opening up for them against this Eagles defense. So some things that are interesting is that they did allow Billy for the Commanders 85 yards. Williams got 97 yards for the Cowboys, and then even Omarion Hampton for the Chargers got 128 yards. So all three of these backs we've seen have over 80 yards, which is a bit scary when you haven't seen a player like Saquon. But they know what they're getting from when they're playing a player like Saquon. Not only is a division rival game, like I said, so they've seen him a few times, but like we all most likely know, Saquon was on the Giants, so is a player that they do know decently, but just haven't seen this year. Seeing that they gave all these rush yards to these three backs, and they haven't seen Saquon yet. Saquon definitely is, I would say, much of a more dangerous back than these three. Although we haven't seen him go crazy this year and haven't really had those much of those breakout runs as we're used to seeing Saquon have. I do think that this is a game that Eagles are going to look into getting that run game going again for them to be able to rush the ball a lot more effectively. I think they only ran the ball like 8 times to Saquon last week, which is just unacceptable. So I do think that this is going to be a game that they're going to try to get that back, that momentum back on their side and the ball rolling for Saquon, because that's something that's super important for this offense, this Eagle offense. So they really haven't been explosive on their offense. Seeing, like I said already, Saquon not really doing the most, but just even Jalen Hurts, he's been really underwhelming passing the rock. We have receivers, A.J. Brown, that's not really the most happy and satisfied. You could see the connection kind of being off on the field, them not hitting plays that they typically do, especially those long balls. So I do see that being an interesting key factor in this matchup, especially seeing, like I said, they haven't been able to match up and click like they usually been able to have to. But one thing I do like is that for the Giants' sake is that the Eagles have allowed a decent amount of rush yards from the quarterback. We've seen Bo Nix only for 3 rush yards but get 22 yards. We've seen Mahomes with 7 rush yards for 66 yards. And even though it's a small sample size, we see Baker Mayfield with 2 rushes for 13 yards. So I do expect a player like Jackson Dart to use his legs. He had like around 50 rushing yards last week against 55 against the Saints, and then like the week previously before that, he had somewhere in the Chargers. He had 54 as well. So back-to-back 50 plus rushing yards in a game. They have his rushes at 36 last week, and we seen him pretty much blast past that. So I do think he will be using his legs a lot this game, and is going to need to, especially with the lack of receivers that he will be having. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to find those guys deep, and overall is effectively going to have to use his legs to be able to get out of those risky positions, especially those third and longs and just those third down positions as a whole, when their receivers are being covered pretty well. So this is an interesting matchup. Like I said, both teams coming off of losses. What I will pick in this matchup, just giving my thoughts and opinions, but if I did have to lean aside, I would lean as Giants, that plus 7.5. I do believe home teams in division matchups, ATS perspective, have done really well. I believe a 7 is a lot of a touchdown's a lot to give, especially for the Giants that have, for Eagles team that have kept it close. Like I said, it's already a division matchup. And I think that this line is over exaggerated from seeing the Giants lose last week to the Saints. I think they're going to look a lot better this week at home against obviously a difficult team in the Eagles, but a team that in the Eagles that have found a way to clearly pull through with a win, but overall have kept things close. Even in the Bucks matchup, we see them smashing in the beginning, but not be able to complete a pass in the second half. So I do expect the Giants to be able to keep things close, keep it within that drive, that 7.5. Other things that I do find interesting in this matchup that I will be exploiting if I can, especially if I were to take this game, is one over that 36.5 rush yards for Jackson Dart. It is set at minus 114. Do think that's good enough even odds to put some money on. I do expect, like I said, to see Jackson Dart use his legs, really spread that offense out more, to be able to get to extend plays and extend drives. I think that's going to be a very crucial thing, is Jackson Dart to use his legs. So I do expect him to get over that 36.5, as well as Scatterboo. They have Scatterboo's receiving yards at 14.5. I did say that Neighbors will be out along with Slayton. I think that that's going to be something that they're going to have to look into and really get the ball to Scatterboo. He is a running back that can use his hands and can catch the ball pretty decently well. We seen him last week against the Saints. We seen Scatterboo put up 45 yards, which, like I said, they were ready without Neighbors that game, and we seen what he did. So I can't imagine without Slayton. Even in the Chargers game where Jackson Dart had his first start, we seen even Scatterboo, yes, with 2 catches, but he did have 11 yards. So pretty much just barely fell shy of that 14.5. Like I said, having those 2 receivers out, I think, is going to be crucial. I do expect Scatterboo to get a pass where he has to break out for a first down, being over 8 to 9 yards. So I do see him receiving the ball over 3 to 4 times to be able to cover that. Like I said, Saints last week, he had 45 yards, but also just catching the ball 6 times. So I think if he gets the ball even 4 times, he covers that 14.5 over the under. So like I said, I will lean towards that Giants with the points, as well as Jackson Dart over that 36.5 rush yards, as long as with that Cam Scatterboo to have that over 14.5 receiving yards. So if you do like my thoughts and opinions of this game and this matchup, please leave these comments and likes. It definitely does me good and justice when I see these comments and I get to know that your guys' opinions on the games are. It lets me make my adjustments on what I'm doing right or wrong, and all those good stuff like that. So if you do guys like these videos, these free picks that I'm giving out, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys this Sunday.